All right, let's talk about the last two ways that we are going to finish our night sky and atmospheric perspective landscape. So for this one, we are going to have a lot of our color mixed with just a little bit of water. We don't want it to be the darkest yet. So it is going to be our darkest layer though. So now we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defined layers. If you have extra space and you want to do another one, you certainly can, but it should be going light to dark. Now we have one last thing that we need to do with this that's going to require a dry brush technique. So we got to let this dry a little bit. So let's go back to our night sky painting. So if you're happy with the way that yours looks, you might, if you're not happy with it, add another layer over top of it. If you are happy with it, then you can do the finishing touches. And the finishing touches might be a couple of different things. You might, and I find that the pearl white watercolor in this works really well. This is going to be, oops, I should rinse out my brush. So using this white watercolor is probably going to be your best bet. You can add a couple of different things. One of the things that you might choose to add is you might add a moon. And so to do that, whatever shape you want, full moon, crescent moon, half moon, that's kind of up to you. You can add it in there. So you can see that it's going to kind of have like a light shimmer to it, but it's going to add a little bit more detail. Now, if you want to have stars, in your watercolor kits, I've added a toothbrush. So I'm going to rinse this out to make sure that it's good to go. And what you're going to do is you're just going to dip that toothbrush into the paint. It's going to feel really, really weird. It's not going to get on all of it, but you should see that it's on there a little bit. Then you're just going to take your finger and take that toothbrush across, and it's going to splatter some stars. So some might be big, some might be little, but you can see that that gives quite a little bit of extra detail to it. And you can just rinse that out like, I used the wrong cup, but we can rinse that out like we would, and you can just put that back in your kit. So then this one still isn't quite dry yet. So the next thing you can do, if this one's dry enough for you to do, is on the bottom, you could add a little bit of a mountain detail or a cityscape, a silhouette of any kind that you would like, okay? So I'm just gonna keep going with my mountain theme here, and for this one, I almost want quite a bit of a dry brush for this. So you might have to use, if you're using that black, I gotta take this one to use because this one's running out. And I'm going to layer this over, and you might want them to be more mountainy. It's up to you. I'm just going to pull that down, and I should have a nice layering of the silhouette. And once you have your painting at the design that you want, you might call it good, and then you have a completed piece. So that's it for our night sky. So let's see if we can go back to this one here. It's kind of damp, but we should be okay. So I'm really going to rinse out my brush here, and just to finish this out, I'm going to add a couple of trees in the front. So for this one, I'm going to wring out my paintbrush after I dip it in here to kind of do that dry brush. And then to make my trees, you can do this in so many different ways, and I'll show you a couple of different ways. So now I'm not dipping water into this now because I want it to have a nice thin line. So I'm going to start by just pulling this up, and if your layers aren't dry, this isn't going to work. And then I'm just going to kind of bring this out to make branches. as I go further down, the branches are going to get a little bit longer. Now, you can make a tree like that. Another way you can make one, if you kind of want more like a pine tree, or the kind of tree that we typically think of for like a Christmas tree. I'm going to make that a little bit darker. So another way you could go about this is you can make these different sizes. So I'm going to make like a smaller one, and then just making lines as I get further down. The branches get longer once again. But you can add some trees into our foreground there, and you could even overlap with some different colors, but adding maybe 2 or 3 trees depending on it is gonna kind of finish and complete your piece there. So that's how we will finish off our 2 paintings. Eventually we will map them to provide a little bit of a frame, but these are remember, your paintings don't need to look exactly like mine. You can totally do what you want to do with them, okay? These are just exercises for us to learn patience with watercolor and practice that layering.